Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Entrepreneurship Matters. This is going to be, I say, the most beautiful Entrepreneurship Matters. We have three women who are wearing red today for this week's session, and we are talking all about HR. Let me tell you, we've been doing this for 40 weeks. This is our 40th webinar on Entrepreneurship Matters, and we are in for a treat. We know that successful businesses, successful entrepreneurs are not made in a day. It takes hard work, a long-term commitment, multiple failures, and multiple successes to make it happen. And today is no different. 40 weeks ago, we had a young entrepreneur, Camry Moses, who I know is watching, inspire us to start this webinar series. And we're here for 40 weeks on week 40. So why don't we get started? Let me introduce you to, hold on one moment. One second. One moment. Let me get us all started in this. And one second. Okay. All right. We're all set. Okay. So let me introduce Jody and Brenda and give their bios, and we're going to get right into the conversation. So Jody Friend is a human resource executive with over 30 years of experience. She is a graduate of cohort 2 of the 10KSB program. Her passion in providing HR solutions for her clients by helping them navigate a complex maze of human resources through compliance process and people. Jody and her team provide global consultative services to early stage ventures, nonprofit organizations, government contractors, and privately held companies ranging in size from 5 to 750 employees. She is an active member of several HR organizations, including SHRM, both on the national and local level, and HR Alliance in DC, where she served as president for a year and as a board member for 5 years. She has an amazing family. I know they're probably watching. Lauren, Latia, Jabari, and her 2 grandchildren, Corey and Naomi. She loves mentoring other HR professionals, and we're going to hear about that today on this session of Entrepreneurship Matters. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Jody. And then we have Brenda McChriston, who is the CEO and principal of Spectrum HR Solutions, a human resource advisory practice specializing in strategic HR management, training, legal compliance, employee relations, and compensations. Her vision for the company began in 2004. Since then, she has helped more than 80 companies and organizations nationwide do something everybody wants to do, which is save money, improve employee productivity, and achieve organizational growth. For 10 years, she's been an advisory council member to the Passport to the Future program at Howard County Public Schools. We're going to have her talk about that as well, providing guidance on curriculum based on employer needs and requirements. In 2019, she chaired the Howard County HRS Diversity Inclusion Committee and organized the county's first ever leadership symposium on diversity and inclusion. And she was appointed by Governor Hogan in 2018 to the Maryland Commission for Women. She is also a graduate of the 10KSB program, cohort 7. So we're going to talk about how that has also impacted both of them and their business development. But welcome, Jody. Welcome, Brenda. You're both on mute.
All right. Thank you so much for that introduction, Alicia.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's get right into the conversation. Let's start out. What HR is a field that many people try to venture into, but few rise to the level where you both are, really consulting multiple businesses. So what inspired you to become an entrepreneur? I'll start with Jody and then Brenda.
Well, I think what inspired me was actually, there was a little bit of a fire lit under me when back in 2001, when I was laid off from my full-time position. And I took advantage of a wonderful opportunity through the state of Maryland that provided some training on how to become an entrepreneur. And so I initially started JLM back in 2001. But entrepreneurship is a journey. It is not easy. And so about a year and a half, I found myself back in corporate America. And then
Mm.
fast forward to 2011, it was like deja vu, laid off again. And I said, I'm relaunching my HR consulting practice. And I haven't looked back. So that's what really inspired me, was just really that opportunity that I received back in 2001, and thought, what a great opportunity. I want to take advantage of it.
Excellent. I mean, it's a really interesting story. And we'll get into sort of what made you pivot twice, once and then again, and go forward. Because I think many that are watching may have had a similar journey and want to understand what went through, what thought process you went through. But that is extremely inspiring. Brenda, how about you? What led you to pursue entrepreneurship?
That is a long story that I'll condense to about 45 seconds. My career started out with a major corporation who thought that I would be good in human resources. I remember asking the question, this is when I worked for Marriott many years ago, and I asked the question, what's human resources? And they said, we'll show you. And they did. And I was so inspired by that as I continued to grow and develop in my career, I realized there was a gift that everyone told me that I had to make change and to inspire others and to persevere. And I didn't listen to my family and friends and colleagues at the time, because I had 2 young kids in the middle of a divorce, and thought, oh my God, there's no way. At the same time, I thought that, well, you know what? I am working 24 hours a day, practically, doing this for other organizations when I know I can do it for myself. And so I was really actually inspired by my children, by my family, my mom and dad. I was inspired by so many of my mentors, and they said, you really got to do this for you. And so unlike Jody, I did the really crazy thing. I had a marshmallow job. It was great with an organization. And I took that leap because my mentor said, I know you've heard this before, take the leap and grow your wings on the way down. All I knew was HR, didn't know much about managing or owning a business, although through the luck of the draw, I had an opportunity in HR to learn every aspect of an organization, from its financial position to its marketing. And I realized that all of the aspects of owning a business is about HR, because there aren't very many areas where people don't exist, and they all want to do well, and they all want to be appreciated and respected and paid fairly. And so having this realization, I took that leap. And have I looked back a few times? Yes. And we've been in business for this is our 17th year, and I think that it is the best thing since sliced bread. I cannot tell you that it wasn't hard. I can't tell you that it hasn't been a journey. I can tell you that there were times when I thought, okay, how am I going to meet the mortgage this month? Oh, right. My kids are going back to school. They need school supplies. All of those ups and downs, I can't tell you how well worth it is. And now my kids are flourishing as young adults. And actually, my daughter is doing some work with me in the business, and maybe slated to step into my shoes one day. So having said that, I know that was longer than 45 seconds, but that's the really, really short part of the story.
No, that's I mean, I'm glad it took longer than 45 seconds because it was worth the wait. Let me say this. You said something, I'm quoting you, so I'm going to use it in a speech or something. I'm have to use it to take the leap and grow your wings on the way down. Beautiful imagery of what you just said. And I'm going to continue our conversation right where you just left off and want to know, when you took the leap to go into business, what steps did you go through to start your business? There are some folks on here watching that are wondering, how do I take the leap? What were the things that the step by step, what did you go through to start your business?
So step by step, this is what happened. I knew
everybody
that.
Take out your pen and your pad. We're about to get Jody and Brenda are about to tell us about Jim. So we're gonna take our notes.
So step by step, number one, I made sure that I had a cushion, that there was a mattress at the bottom of that tree. And what I mean by that is I didn't just, all right, throw caution to the wind. I made up my mind. It took me at least 18 months to 2 years to save up enough money, which I had to do. It was nickels and dimes and pennies and whatever else I could do because I needed that seed money. The second thing I did was I started letting everyone who told me I should do this and all my former bosses who are now either my clients or my best friends gave me work, said, look, if you're leaving, we want you to come back and do this. And so I had clients set up before I left my W-2 job. I literally stepped right out of one organization and immediately into the other. Now, some things that I didn't do that I wish I had done at the same time, as I wish that, and now I know better, I wish I had actually put my money into the visual impact of the business. In other words, I should have taken some of that money and put it into marketing, because guess what? That's what people see. People are moved. We are all moved by what we see visually, what we hear, and what we can touch. And so rather than print off business cards, which I did at one point on my printer, I should have gone to marketing and said, hey, help me with my website, help me with my business cards, help me present my business as a serious and talented organization. And it started out just me at that time. The next thing I did was I made sure that those individuals that I had hired to work with me in my department in HR, before I left, I asked if they were interested in doing real HR. Not dotting I's, not crossing T's, not filing, but actually transforming businesses. And we knew how to do that. And we knew how to do it in a way that was non-threatening. We knew how to do that in a way that was gentle and that left people with their dignity. And we included others in the organization. Hey, what would you like to see happen? Now, I will share that nothing happens unless the top and the leadership agrees, nothing. Yeah. So we took the approach, as we always did, we went straight to the top, because we knew in our jobs, many of us reported to the CEO or the CFO. And so I learned how to develop those alliances with folks at the top. And the finance people actually became friends, because my interest in saving the organization was all about, let's look at the return on investment when you hire someone who is skilled and talented versus hiring your nephew, who may or may not be talented, but at the same time, they understood. So we showed them the numbers, we showed them the data, and clients started to look at us in a different way. oh, so you're not here just to give us the form. And of course, we do help with handbooks because that's kind of a compliance issue. But at the same time, we weren't there just to run payroll.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Now, excellent. I took down 5 tips. Maybe some others have more tips, but I took down 5. 1, plan for 18 months to 2 years to have the cushion. And had the savings and the seed money so that when you took the leap, it grew your wings on the way down. If you hit the ground, you had a little bit of cushion. Very smart. 1, all of those people who told you to take the leap, encouraged you to take the leap, you turned around and got business from them. So you really started with a book of business, which is genius, to starting your business. Then, you taught us about something you wish you had done, which is invest in the branding and marketing. And many of you have watched many of our seminars. We've had a couple of them on branding, finding your brand sweet spot. Why do you invest in the branding? So go back and watch those, but you just gave another nugget. And then you made sure that your hires had your same mission around transforming businesses. And then 5, you made alliances with leaders, CEOs, and finance folks to really demonstrate the value of the business. How about you, Jody? How did you start your business?
Not quite as organized as Brenda. Let me just tell you.
I didn't say it was easy.
Right. It took us a different path because literally, like I said, it was like deja vu when I relaunched the business. But one of the things during that 10-year span before I relaunched JLM, I was building my network, right? And honestly, I'm not even sure if I was consciously building my network, but during that 10-year gap between when I initially launched JLM and the time I relaunched, my network just really was, had blossomed. And so the day that I decided to relaunch, and I was no longer employed, and I just basically said, you know what, I am going to go back and resurrect JLM. So one of the things that I'm going to give my husband a shout out here, Michael, who, because when I went back into corporate, I said, I'm just going to shut it down. And, I don't want to have to pay that $300 Maryland tax every year. And I'm not doing anything with this business. He was like, don't do that because you never know what the future holds. And so I give him a lot of credit for encouraging me not to do that. And so sure enough, I found myself in, a similar situation, and I decided to relaunch. And so, but again, what I did was I literally reached out to my network at that point in time, and I said, I'm in business, as an HR consultant. And honestly, I really had no idea that how important that network was going to be at the time. And I initially was thinking that I'm just going to be an HR consultant. It's just going to be me, and I'm going to get to do the wonderful work that I enjoy doing, which is helping, small businesses, set up their HR infrastructure, make sure that they're in compliance, and help them, be as strategic as possible with hiring and staffing and all of that. And so, I quickly learned that there was way more to it. I mean, I was my own bookkeeper, wrong move. And so I will tell up and coming entrepreneurs that one of the really important things that you want to consider is, getting your own infrastructure in place if you're going to be serious about business. And so I quickly learned that I am not an accounting expert. I'm an HR expert. So, so I ultimately hired an accountant who had to fix my books because they were terrible. I thought I was doing a good job, but not so much. And then, of course, having legal guidance and expertise. So I think those are 2 very important things that before you start your business, you should really look into, hiring that accountant, CPA, tax advisor type person, and then also legal, and making sure that, now I didn't have any problem setting up my legal entity because I had done that before.
Sure.
But making sure that you are properly set up as from a legal standpoint. I think that, and so, you know, and then one of the things that happened to me shortly thereafter was I was blessed with an opportunity with a large company to help augment their HR department. And I was quickly told, well, you're going to need to hire 2 people. And I was like, what? You know, I had, that was not planned. I really didn't think I was going to be hiring anyone until maybe 5 or 6 years, you know, down the road. But once I got that opportunity, I ran with that because I was like, this is fantastic. This is what I've wanted. Even though I didn't really think I knew that's what I wanted. And so I hired my first 2 employees in 2014. So that was just 3 years later, as opposed to, you know, 5 or 6 years later. And so I have to really, we went through some bumps, you know, with, you know, the first few hires that I made. So, you know, even though I'm an HR professional, sometimes, you know, we still make those mistakes. We're human too, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I really have a great team now, and we're doing some wonderful things. But I think it's really important to have your infrastructure set up properly as well. Make sure you have the proper insurance, you know, in case, you know, errors and omissions insurance. We've not had to use it, thankfully, but, you know, in the 10 years that we've been in business now. But I think those are really, really important things that entrepreneurship.
Excellent, excellent. You talked, a couple of things that I think are really great nuggets for those who are taking notes, those who are watching. One, you talked about building your network, and you said not, you know, you don't know if you were conscious of it or it was subconscious, but you know, people who build networks, and what that allowed for you to do was to leverage that network once you got into business. It helped you to really be able to really expose and explode and expand your business through your network. So that's your second one. The third thing you talked about was setting up the structure of the business. And you talked about legal, accounting, insurance, and then really being flexible to augment as the demand arose. You didn't believe you'd be hiring people as soon as you did, but you ultimately hired individuals well before you believed that you were going to in your business journey. So I think those are all helpful tips that folks watching can take to heart. Let me pick up where, let me say something. I've gotten too much in this conversation. So I didn't tell people how they can engage in this conversation. Many of you are putting your questions in the chat. I see all of them. I will get to all of those questions. You can also put them in the Q&A. I see that you put them in the Q&A. You may also put them in the chat on Facebook. I'm getting all of those questions as well. And those of you listening on the phone, you may type them and text them to me at 22333 and type JHUWL in the message. And I'll get all of those questions. I'll make sure to weave them into the conversation. In fact, I want to weave one question that just came up into the conversation, Jody, and ask you this, and then Brenda asked you this as well, which is, what are the advantages for small business working with the HR consulting company like yours, or versus hiring someone internal to manage their HR? So can you talk a little bit about that, Jody, and then I'll go to Brenda?
Absolutely. So one of the things that was very conscious in me, you know, launching JLM was the fact that I knew I wanted to work with smaller businesses who, one, could not afford to hire a full-time HR staff person. And so I in my earlier career, I worked for a number of startups, and oftentimes I was the only HR person for those companies. And I saw no budgets, I had to figure out recruiting, without a budget and things like that. And so I knew that there was a niche for the target market that we were going after, which is, that 50 and under market, because they typically, cannot afford a full-time HR person. And so there is, it's cost effective.
Yeah.
A lot of times, these companies also see the return on investment. They know that they're going to work with someone that is going to help them navigate all the employment laws, ensure that they're in compliance, and they're not, making that full-time employee with all of the things that go along with being a full-time staff person, that level of an investment that they can get that HR support, for, less than a full-time hire. And so that's how we market ourselves. And a lot of companies see that that is a return on investment. And so I think, you don't have to have a full-time HR person to help you ensure that you remain in compliance.
Excellent, excellent. How about you, Brenda? What do you say to the person wondering, should I hire someone or use a service like yours? Hold on, let me see if I can unmute you, Brenda. No worries. Okay, go ahead. Oh no, you should unmute. Yep. There you go. There.
Yay. I actually like to piggyback on what Jody just said. She's absolutely right. The return on investment when you hire a consultant, I think, is much greater. For the most part, even though that person may be the only one in human resources at the same time, I can honestly say that there are no guarantees when you hire anyone for any position. And I'm going to say especially HR, because it is no longer the paper-driven or cross the T's and dot the I's type of position that it used to be in the past. It is about developing people, and oftentimes if hiring the right HR consultant or the right HR help, what needs to come along with that is a true understanding of how humans work. I always tell people that HR is an art and a science, the science of sociology and psychology, the art of being creative, as Jody said, with budgets, with limited budgets. The other, I think, compelling reason to hire a consultant is that consultants, as a consultant, I know what we do is we ensure that our values align with that organization. It is absolutely critical because we don't want to find ourselves right back in the same type of W-2 situation where we're fighting with the CEO just to get extra reams of paper. And Jody knows what I'm talking about. So when they hire us with intent, with purpose, and they want deliverables. And consultants, we're gonna deliver. And you can't always guarantee that's going to happen with, I can't tell you how many HR folks that have been hired, but for many reasons didn't work out with the organization, and they asked us to step in.
Yeah, no, so we have a number of mid-sized to small businesses watching right now. In fact, one of them is Fleming Transportation Corporation. The owner, Edna, wanted me to pose this question. I'm going to ask this right now, which is, what type of, we're getting to the meat and potatoes of what you all do. She wants to know, and others want to know alongside her, what type of services do you offer as a subcontractor HR business? So what can someone expect to have within the menu of services that you provide? So why not start with you, Brenda, and then Jody?
The main services that we provide are leadership development. And what I mean by leadership development is that we work from the top throughout the organization. HR audits and compliance, that's critical. Doesn't do any good if you're doing all these great and wonderful things in-house, but not complying with federal, state, and local guidelines.
Mhm.
And then number three, we focus on, we do compensation studies. And when I say compensation studies, I don't mean just pull off a survey off of pay scale or whatever. I mean, we actually do the analysis of the value of the job to the organization. So it's job analysis. I don't want to get into the weeds, but we're probably the group that dives more into the analytical and the science of human resources. That makes sense. So then,
It does to
having
me.
said that, then we can put systems in place that make sense. It's not a handbook. It's not just a handbook if we know the organization doesn't believe in half of the policies. So we make sure that whatever we're putting in place has been sanctioned and agreed to and actually championed by leadership.
Absolutely. Excellent. How about you, Jody? What do you what services do you specifically provide as a consultant?
Okay, so we are your HR department, and so that can mean a lot of things to different companies, different clients that we work with. But our primary service is that we become your outsourced HR department. And so within that large kind of scope, we can provide day-to-day HR support. So that could mean, handling doing some payroll administration, benefits administration, handling your employee relations issues, responding to verifications of employment, making sure that if there's an unemployment claim that has come in, that we are responding to that. We can also help you stand up your performance management process and help you administer that. We also provide recruiting strategies. If you have some hard to fill positions, we can sit down with you and try to figure out, where we're going to find those individuals that you need to hire. We also provide special projects, and like Brenda's company, we do our fair share of employee handbooks, either updating or implementing them for companies for the first time. And we also provide compensation benchmark study as well. And so we can do just the basics of doing market benchmarking, or we can go a little deeper and help you build your compensation program. And so we've done that for a number of companies as well. And so one of the things that we're more recently, we're helping companies to identify and implement their HRIS systems. And so our clients often look to us for full service HR support. But within that, we can also do specialized projects as well.
Excellent, excellent. Both of you, I was an employment attorney, so I know how valuable your insight and your recommendations are in for businesses. So thank you so much for telling us like the full scope of what you have done. Let me give you a couple of, we're going to keep going because we have so many questions in the chat. I don't know how I'm going to get to all of them. I'm going to take a moment to give some kudos. There are a lot of people on Facebook talking about how inspiring you both are. You're two of folks' favorite 10KSB alums. So y'all are like in the upper stratosphere. And someone also caught on to our red that and they said, who doesn't love red? So we're with the red today. Let me get to this next question. You both talked about when you began, individuals identified in you certain skills, certain abilities that made you sort of, almost kismet for the HR field. What are those qualities? The question has been, what skills do you think have taken you far and to be leaders in the HR space? So Brenda, why don't you tell us, when people were saying, you've got, Marriott, your boss said, I think you would be great in HR. What were they talking about?
That's a good question. Gosh, nobody's ever asked me that one before.
Good one, somebody's.
But having said that, I think what he saw was my ability to connect with others so easily. And we have a way of, how do I say this, of getting others to take action before they know they've taken it. In other words, it's not forced. We guide, we coach, we counsel, and with dignity, with respect. I know he used to say, gee whiz, one of the things you're really good at is, bringing individuals into our organization through our recruitment techniques. Well, I actually had an opportunity to kind of make some changes in that recruitment process that actually improved the way they recruited as a corporation, which is pretty amazing. And I think that's what it is. That's what they saw. And that's what my other mentors saw, more the ability to connect. I've kind of got this, how do I say it? I don't want to sound sixth sense.
Sixth sense, special connection. No, that is I mean, most people don't realize that the ability to connect with individuals and influence them is a skill. It's a gift. How about you, Jody? What are the skills that are taking you far in the HR business?
So I think for me, I was born to do this. And so for me, it's the ability to connect with others. It's the ability to meet people where they are, no matter what position that they hold, in a company, in life, and to have compassion and as much understanding as possible. And so, but I had to learn over the years that, I think a lot of us that are in our specific fields of work, we get really comfortable with what we do. We throw around acronyms and things like that. Yeah. And I had to really learn that this is what I do. It's not necessarily what the other person does, right? Mm-hmm. And so learning that, I think it has given me a real ability to again, meet people where they are, to help them understand how to navigate through certain things. That something that may seem very trivial to me could be huge for someone else. It could be impacting them in ways that, would not impact me necessarily. And I think just being able to connect with individuals on that level, helping them navigate through whatever challenges and issues and problems that they have. And that goes from the, starting with the CEO who may be struggling with, how does he or she handle employee relations issues? How do they, what happens if, they've been, or they're being sued, things like that. Helping them to really understand what kind of, company do you want as a business owner, right? What kind of culture are you trying to build? What are your values, right? And when we're helping companies put together their handbooks or their policies, we want those handbooks and policies to reflect that of the company. And so I think we have a real knack to be able to do that and help companies see that.
Absolutely. First of all, both of you must be amazing mentors. You have folks calling you out by name within. TJ Deloach called you out, Brenda, and we have Deltarise George called you out as well. You both, in addition to being amazing business owners and HR professionals, it's very heartwarming to hear so many people shouting you out about how you mentor and assist others. Let me get to this question because It's come up a number of times in the questions that folks have posed. How you both talked about every day not being a sunshiny day in your businesses. That there have been ebbs and flows. There have been moments when you really needed to use those wings and probably stretch them out. How did you get, what kept you going? What keeps you going? And if you could talk a little bit about how have you kept going during COVID? Because I'm imagining that impacted your businesses as well. So Brenda, why don't you start off?
Yeah, I'm going to work backward on that one because what's happening right now is obviously transformative for all of us, not only from a social aspect, obviously, but from just a wellness aspect. I think what COVID has done for our business is just spotlighted us. And what I mean by spotlight, suddenly business organizations that saw their employees as just employees now understand and see them as people with families, with with feelings, with dreams, with hope. And so, and what the other piece is that they want to keep their employees. Those who are performing, they want them to stay. So they're learning how to be more flexible. So we're actually, for us, it's exploded. So working backward from that, the other thing that keeps us going is the everyday. I always say if I could just touch someone, anyone, I don't need to know it. If I could just touch one person every day, then I'm happy. I'm a success. And that really is coming. Like Jody said, this is our spirit talking.
Yes.
And so I feel so incredibly lucky and blessed to be in a place in my career. And I've heard people tell me all the time, oh my God, I can't believe how you do HR. I would never be able to do it. And I just think, I don't know how I wouldn't. And seeing that we can make an impact in people's lives is very, very important. And I think that's what's happened now. The happy story, one of our clients too, because we were trying to figure out ways to keep everyone engaged while they were off the grid last year. And one of the things that one of our CEOs did was he made YouTube videos and sometimes in costume, to keep his employees engaged, lift their spirits, and also to keep them connected to the business. So not only was it a business report, but it was also an opportunity for everyone to kind of laugh at his videos. It was hysterical. And I could tell you that organization experienced the least amount of turnover due to COVID. Of course, we jumped in there pretty quickly and on an emergency basis and, wrote COVID policies to keep up with the regulatory issues regulatory promulgations that were spewing out and continue to do so. So that's how, that would be it.
Excellent. Jody, how about?
I'm sorry, Alicia. Can you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. How have you coped over, you talked about ebbs and flows. You even talked about relaunching. What keeps you going? What kept you going as you started your business, as you keep going in your business?
Well, what keeps me going is my faith, quite frankly. And I have an extremely supportive husband and family that keeps me going as well. There are those times when, like Brenda said, this is a journey. It has not always been easy. It's not always sunshine and roses. There have been times when I was trying to figure out, am I going to make payroll for my team, the next payroll cycle? And let me just tell you, with such a supportive family, and that includes, my parents as well, who believe in, all of their children, but, believe in what we're doing. without that help and support, and, sometimes it was in the form of a loan that, we were able to make it through. And then, just participating in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program really opened my eyes to a lot of things, to a lot of processes that I needed to implement to help my business run much more efficiently that I hadn't thought about. And so it's one of those things also, it's continuous learning. I have the staff that I have right now, I couldn't ask for a better staff. And it is my absolute joy and pleasure to be able to mentor them. The other thing that keeps me going is that I feel a sense of responsibility to them, their families. JLM wouldn't be here without them. JLM would not be here without our wonderful clients. Brenda mentioned something earlier about aligning values. So that is, let me just tell you something, that is key. When your values align with your clients' values, you get a wonderful partnership. Right? And it's more than just client relationship. It is a true partnership. We see insight into their business operations. That's really important because that's how we deliver the best service that we possibly can. And sometimes I have had clients come to me and talk to me about personal things that are going on with them.
Yeah.
That's a true relationship. There's a trust factor there. That's what keeps me going, knowing that I'm impacting them sometimes professionally as well as personally as well. And it's just, that's what keeps me going. And the fact that I have such a great team and I have a sense of responsibility to them as well. They're like family to me.
Oh, you could, both of you sound just one, you can tell why you're so good at what you do. And I can say having as an employment lawyer, having an HR professional that has the value alignment with the business, key. So many great decisions happen. And, Brenda talked about understanding people's hopes and dreams. Jody talked about understanding the families, the richness of individuals, just beautiful imagery, and shows why you're both so effective. So, okay, I'm gonna get a number of questions in. I've had to ask this one. We do have Oprah watching. So she has asked this: how can individuals in her position impact businesses like yours? How can we ensure that we have more Spectrum HR solutions? How can we make sure we have more JLM HR Consulting? How can we make sure we have more businesses like yours thriving in our community? Brenda, why don't you start, and then Jody?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. It's a great question. And I think the number one thing you can do is come watch us work. Watch how we handle different employee relations issues. Take a look into our offices and look at how well we write the handbooks. It's sort of like walk a mile in our shoes. To make this job sound like it's a piece of cake, it really isn't. It is probably one of the most difficult professions, and then we've made it into an enterprise or into a business. That takes an extraordinary amount of intestinal fortitude. Kind of a horror story. Speaking of values, that Jody also mentioned, we had a client, and this is making the right decisions and partnering with the right organizations. We had a client who hired us to do their day-to-day HR. We agreed with the understanding that we were also going to have the CEO as the partner, because nothing happens without leadership. And we decided that we were going to help them come into compliance because there were a lot of issues that they were struggling with. And one, I think I can say it, I'm not going to say who they are, but it was a sexual harassment issue that came up. Of course, we jumped on it and investigated it. And true enough, all the witnesses, including the accused, said, yep, he did it. Quid pro quo. So we finished our report, gave it back to the CEO, and the CEO said, well, we can't take your recommendation to let this person go because he makes us too much money. Here's where values, you draw the line in the sand.
Yeah.
We said, hey, look, you could be personally liable. Here's what you could lose in court. We showed them data around the number of sexual harassment claims and how much he could be held liable for. We told him how disruptive it could be to the business. And he said, no, this guy's been with me for 12 years and I don't want to let him go. So at that point, it becomes a value issue. And it becomes an issue of principle. We have our reputation at stake every time we go into a client site or engage a client online, every time. And so it was important for me to draw a line in the sand and say, if this is not a threat, but I'm not sure we're the right company for you. We could probably make a referral, but we're gonna have to end the engagement, terminate the engagement. So he looks across the table at me and he says, you're willing to walk away from all this money on the table? And we said, you know what, this really not about the money. It really isn't. It's about our reputation. It's about doing the right thing. It's about making the person whole who has suffered at the hands of this individual for years, and it's been ignored.
Yeah.
So he thought about it. He said, let me sleep on it. He says, okay, we're going to take your recommendation. I think that he expected HR to just do the HR thing and walk away. We don't do that. So having said that, to get back to the original question, which is what can businesses do or how can you support us? Know that we are out here actually trying to really, honest to goodness, make the world a better place. I know that sounds pie in the sky, but if you work through one person at a time, it does happen. To hear that one person say, thank you, I didn't realize my performance was slipping in this way. And I'm so grateful that you've recommended this development or this training, or to hear a CEO say, oh my God, look, our gross profit margin is up this month because our retention has remained the same. So you have to kind of walk a mile in our shoes, but we're easy to find on the website.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm gonna let everybody know how to get in contact with you. How about you? What do you say? Oprah's listening. She wants to know how to support businesses like yours. What's your word for her?
Gosh, I would say every company needs HR. We're industry agnostic, and the service that we provide, especially in 2021, as Brenda said, we're not just pushing paper, dotting I's and crossing T's. We are providing you with advice and counsel that will help you stay in business. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, we're helping you to manage risk. We're helping you to, we're giving you options for you to make informed decisions. And so I think every business owner needs that. And it's because who runs your business? You wouldn't be in business without your people.
That's right.
And so it's very, very important that you understand how to manage your people, right? So that you remain in compliance, so that your business can grow and that you can thrive, and you want your people to thrive.
Yeah.
I always tell our clients that when you're recruiting, when you're hiring, the minute you decide to do that, you're making an investment. And when you bring that person on board into your company, you want to make sure you get a return on your investment, because you've already invested when you took the time to post a job and have us, spend our time as well on recruiting and going through the interview process and all of that. And so so you don't want to just bring somebody on board and then not invest in them. And so we can help you get the best and the most out of your human resources. And
Yep.
so that's how what you can do for us and keep us in business.
Oprah's favorite thing, she could have favorite service industry. Like, you can buy like
It's HR.
God, best HR. I get it. We are about to run out of time. I wanted to make sure before I get to my last question, folks know how to get in touch with you. We have put all of that information in the chat. Brenda, you can reach her, spectrumhrsolutions.com, Facebook, Spectrum HR Solutions. This is really easy, Brenda. You have it all set. Spectrum HR Solutions on every.com. There is Jody, same, JLM-HR Consulting.com. Facebook, same, JLM HR Consulting LLC, and Twitter, JLM_HR. Let me get to this last question. It's come up a number of times during this show. Both of you, first of all, folks are just saying how amazing you are, how grateful we are for both of you, how much of a mentor, how much you do within our community. And I can just personally say thank you for that. And folks are wondering, how did you handle those who couldn't see how great you were going to be today, right? So how, when you first started, there likely were naysayers. A couple of people said, you want to leave that nice corporate job, or you want to leave the success you have to go take the leap. How did you handle those naysayers when you were launching and growing your business? What word, I'm guessing someone out there is dealing with the naysayers. They're in the early stages of their business. How did you deal with that? Brenda, why don't you give us quickly your thoughts? What did you do? And then Jody, I'm going to ask you the same.
That's an easy one for me.
Yes.
Because absolutely there were naysayers. You must be crazy. You can't afford this. You've got kids. They've got educations. Oh my God. Yes. But you know what I did? Two things. Number one, I surrounded myself with positive people. I got the naysayers out of my life and didn't pay attention to any of the emails or any of the LinkedIn comments. I kept focused on people who were going to uplift me. And I will tell you, like Jody did, I want to give a shout out to my team, because they are absolutely quintessential best HR folks ever. And I know, Jody, you got good people too. We probably, between the two of us, we've probably hired the best HR people.
Y'all hired all of them. Nobody else in the market.
We have. And I want to give a shout out, because I know at least a couple of them are on live. And thank you for that. Thank you for your support. I believe in surrounding myself with people who are better than me, for sure. I want the skilled person. I want somebody to say, Brenda, have you thought about doing it this way? And if they're not helping me, they're not part of my circle. And that took me a long time to get to that, because some people are we're friends, people I know for years, and we're part of our circle. But when you start moving ahead and you do it anyway, sometimes they come around.
That's right.
I also want to say one more thing. The group photo that you have posted, that's my network. They're my HR network. I have known those that we all belong to the Howard County Human Resources Society, shout out. And they have been my best support. We refer to each other, we lean on each other, we ask each other for advice, because like you said, HR can be lonely. Being a business owner is twice as lonely, because not everybody wants to see us succeed, but we don't listen to that chatter.
That's right.
We cut it out. Okay, that's all I had to say. Shout out to my network and shout out to my team. Woo!
That was a good word. Good word. Jody, how about you? What do you say to the naysayers? How did you remain focused?
Absolutely. Again, if you feel it in your gut that this is your path, because we all have a path, follow your path. right? As Brenda said, surround yourself with positive people. Build your network. Oh my gosh, it's so important. And one of the things that's really important for me also is that sort of sphere of influence, if you will. Figure out what that is for you, and make sure that they, again, the values align. You're kind of have the same goals, and they don't necessarily have to be doing the same thing that you're doing, but you're moving in the same direction. I mean, I have been able to call on, again, some of my clients because we have that relationship. They're a business owner, I'm a business owner, so we have that in common. And again, if it's a good, strong relationship, you can, call on them to help you navigate through a business issue or challenge. And I think just stay positive. For me, again, it's about my faith and leaning on my family, which I'm very blessed and fortunate to have that support. And, if you're, don't necessarily have that support, there are folks out there that are willing to support you. Believe me. Call me and Brenda.
That's great. I'm putting y'all both in my phone. I have your phone number. We all connected. We're not leaving one another.
That's right. And
not leaving one
what I would say is, what's for you is for you and nobody else. And don't be afraid to partner. Find a good partner. We have several partners that we work with on and off. And I think I have a new one in Brenda, so I'll be calling you. But
yes, thank you.
So because this work is hard, it's not easy, and being a business owner can be lonely. So hopefully you all have taken away some good advice, and I'm so glad to have been here today.
Oh, Jody, Brenda, you both are a blessing. We really appreciate you. And Jody, you said this early on. I'm going to make sure I was taking notes. You said, I was born to do this. And both of you have demonstrated that during this hour. So I'm just so thankful that both of you have been a part of this session of Entrepreneurship Matters. Let me give a closeout and I'll make sure you both get back to the businesses that I know been calling you during this session. We will be returning next Thursday at 1:00. Dana Smith of Spiritual Essence Yoga and Dia Lott of Spiritual Living by Shay, two amazing yoga studio entrepreneurs, will be on here. You do not want to miss this. Follow us on JH Connects on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Email us feedback, jhconnects@jhu.edu. Thank you to our community partners, Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins Health System, Hopkins Local, the Mayor's Office of Small, Minority-Owned, and Women-Owned Business, the Warnock Foundation, Goldman Sachs, Kincaid SB, and Bloomberg Philanthropies. Thank you both, Brenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Jody, let's talk.
Yes.
Bye.